This lesson is all about calculations and ledger adjustments. Our system is configured to calculate on demand. This is because of the huge amount of calculations that occur behind the scenes. Every item in the system has a quantity. Quantities linked to head counts. There's a whole section on head count calculations by geography, by job code. And then lastly, all of these calculations are finally put together into statistical drivers and resources. So you can initiate a calculation several ways, including waiting for the overnight calculation to occur. So I'm going to jump right into a workbook configured for SmartView. It's already connected to my task list, and I'm modifying some revenue drivers. Once I modify them on my yellow entry cells, and I submit. You always need to submit your data before you calculate it, but once I get everything the way I like it, I can right-click, go to SmartView, and click Calculate Result. This launches a business rule that takes anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes to complete. Okay, you see after the calculation is done, you get a pop-up message. Your form refreshes, and right here on Calculated Value, these numbers change. So here I change the volume, and I now have 4 million as my calculated value. The advantage of using SmartView Excel to launch your calculation is you get immediate feedback, and it only calculates the planning cost center you're on. This is the quickest calculation there is. The disadvantage is it ties up your Excel as it runs. So to get around that, you can log into the Hyperion application, find your task list. This is identical, and I'm now dealing with a revenue driver. Come over here and search for your planning cost center. One of the advantages of the browser is I can search a little more easily. Select my planning cost center, hit go, make my changes here. Let's send it back to 1 million. And then I right-click, Calculate Results. Now I can go back to my PC, use my Excel, do something else, like maybe queue up an expense form and make some adjustments. So while that calculation is running on the server, I want to remind you can simply wait for the overnight calculation to occur. And I want to point out a couple places you'll see your calculated results right off the bat. I just showed you a web form, any gray cell that says calculated value. And we have two specific web forms. I'm going to launch input and adjust calculated values. This particular web form has a whole section on calculated values, and these are immediately refreshed when a calculation is complete. And we also have a section, a web form for modifying headcount and forecast drivers. And you'll see up here on row 4, this is the notional headcount. This is the direct result of our revenue drivers. So as you adjust your revenue drivers, your FTE throughput, quantity per FTE, you hit a calculation, the results will show up here. Let's jump back to the web, see if our calculation is completed. It has. So again, I can launch a one cost center calculation here just by clicking Calculate Results. If you need to calculate an entire organization, we do have a placeholder on the task list. You click Calculate Results, and it will then ask you to launch a rule. And you need to select your organization level here. So leave the scenario and the version alone. Come over here and select your organization. There is a wildcard here. I was working with the Treasury Cost Center. There it is, 7781. I could select that, or in this case, I want to run a calculation for all of payment services. And because I already looked at the cost center, So because I was already at the cost center, I was at too low a level, so I closed it and restarted. I'm just going to put in payment. Based on your security, you're probably only going to see one cost center or one organization anyway. I bring payment services over here. I click OK and just launch. Now this will execute a little bit longer than one cost center, maybe 4 to 6 minutes, and it'll queue up in the background. When it's done, you'll get a pop-up message, and you can then review all of your results.